welcome to episode number 82 of the Cheesesteaks and Controllers podcast, presented by Fox PHL The Gambler, 102.5 FM, 1480 AM, and iHeartRadio. This is Jason Fanelli, the Esports and Gaming Insider for Fox PHL The Gambler, coming at you after a pretty slow week in video games compared to the week before. Not a whole lot really to discuss as far as breaking news and stuff like that. There will still be some headlines, of course. But this week, we're going to get into a couple of interesting events that are happening in esports, specifically competitive gaming that you can get involved in, should you choose. We'll talk about the upcoming month in video games and how you need to protect your wallet if you are a big fan of those games. And then I'm going to get into, at the end here, I called it something different when I spoke to Sean Brace on the radio on Thursday afternoon. But it's basically like when you're not feeling good and you have to be inside for a couple of days for whatever reasons, whatever reason it may be. The best games to play when you're sick. So they're my favorite games to play when I'm, under the weather and feeling it and, stuff like that. So we'll get into all that first. But before we do anything else, let's do what we normally do to start these episodes and get into the 6 in 60 seconds. The Toronto Ultra defeated the Seattle Surge in the Call of Duty League Kickoff Classic Finals last weekend, taking home the $30,000 grand prize. League of Legends LCS's lock-in Final Four will be this weekend, with Dignitas taking on Team Liquid and Evil Geniuses playing Cloud9. Elsewhere, the Dragon Ball FighterZ World Championship, initially scheduled for February 19 and 20, has been indefinitely postponed due to ongoing COVID-19 concerns. Meanwhile, Xbox has reported its 2021 revenue at an all-time high of over $16 billion earned, with Halo Infinite logging a franchise record 20 million users in its first month. Reports indicate that the next two mainline Call of Duty games, as well as the Warzone follow-up, will appear on PlayStation consoles after questions of Call of Duty's future on the console after Xbox's purchase of Activision Blizzard. Finally, Steam Deck, the Nintendo Switch-esque mobile gaming PC from Valve, is set to officially launch at the end of February 25th specifically. Those are your 6 in 60 seconds. And as always, the 6 in 60 seconds is brought to you by the sponsor for Cheesesteaks and Controllers, that is Ghost Shaver. The Ghost Shaver is designed to feel like an extension of your arm, allowing the user to reach anywhere on the head, face, or body. Its precision cutting system gives a close and smooth shave every single time, thanks to 5 different rotary flex action super thin blades and a patented handle design that fits into the palm of your hand precisely. Easy to use and easy to clean. Go to ghostshaver.com, check things out, and get yours. That's Ghost Shaver, a shave above the rest. Yes, folks, those are your 6 in 60 seconds for the week. Just like I said, not a crazy week in games. Some results for big-time esports. The LCS lock-in has its Final Four. Call of Duty League's Kickoff Classic has its winner in the Toronto Ultra. But a bit of a steady ship as opposed to the huge tidal wave of news we got after Microsoft's announcement of the acquisition of Activision. But first off tonight, I want to get into something that I talked about with Sean Brace on the radio earlier today, and that is an upcoming competition inviting you, the avid video gamer, to participate for some cash rewards from the comfort of your own home between now and April. It is called Club Clash, run by the Esports Gaming League. That's egl.tv/Club Clash. And it is a series of competitions on 4 different games, which allow you to represent yourself by one of 8 different professional sports franchising spanning 4 different sports. And you can, 3 different sports. You choose the team you want to represent and the tournament that you want to play, and you are in. So I just want to get into a little bit of what teams you can represent, what games are being played, and the specific rules or formats that those games are being played in, should you decide to give it a chance. And first and foremost, let's start with the 8 professional sports teams that you can align yourself with in this clash. I am speaking to this because of the Philadelphia Union. who are represented in this club clash, being able to play games and while representing the MLS team in the city that has set it on fire a couple of times with their great play would be a very, very cool thing. So if you're a Union fan and you want to represent them, Club Clash is the way to do it. Also available from the MLS is the New England Revolution. And then from the NBA, the Cleveland Cavaliers are part of this. And finally, from the NFL, National Football League, Major League Football, sheesh. The New England Patriots, Denver Broncos, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Indianapolis Colts, and Los Angeles Chargers are all available to you as well. So what are the 4 games that you're going to be playing in this Club Clash? They are Madden 22, with the first tournament starting this Saturday at 3:15 in the afternoon. Fortnite, in one of the most interesting formats that I have ever seen. Did not really expect this to be the case, but it is an interesting idea. We are talking about Rocket League, and then we are going to talk about Apex Legends. Those are the 4 games that will be available as part of the Club Clash. And again, all you have to do is go to the website, sign up, represent the team, click the team that you're going to be representing, and then play your games from there. So, Madden fans who may be interested in this would be happy to know that the rules of this are pretty basic, pretty normal. You're going to be playing Madden online friendlies with opponents whose name you will be given before the match, or someone will be setting up the game session. But no, you will. It looks like, according to these rules, you will have to add the opposing player's screen name to your Xbox or PlayStation, and then go from there. They are Madden online friendlies with 4-minute quarter lengths, so not terribly long games. While the 15-minute setting does go quicker than 15 minutes, it's still very, very slow-paced. So the 4-minute quarters makes a lot of sense here. Difficulty of All Pro, again, makes sense. They're trying to get some good high-level competition going here, and a bunch of newcomers like me would not bode very well for this tournament. The weather will be randomized, so if you get pitted in a match where it's raining, tough luck. Just like in the real NFL, it could be raining outside, but you still got to go out there and pad up. And then there are challenges on, but I don't think they're particularly going to affect gameplay in this match. So, what will happen is Saturday at 3:15, everyone will sign on and start playing. Looks like there's only 9 participants right now, and you will play a tournament to decide the winner of a share of a certain amount of money. Looks like $500 is the share for this first weekend. And then from there, you will keep competing until the final session of this particular stage that we're in, which is in April, I believe, if I read correctly. And then there, the prize pools are a little bit higher, with $3,500 being scattered around to the winners. So that is what Madden looks like. Now we're going to talk about Fortnite. Fortnite is probably the most interesting scenario of the 4. I would imagine that a Fortnite tournament would just be a standard battle royale, and as you whittle down the people who are eliminated, you make a list of everyone who's eliminated and who's eliminated by who. You give points by who's for eliminations, and points based on standings. You run a couple of rounds of those, and whoever placed the highest moves on to a final round. That's actually what we're doing what they're doing in a different game. But for whatever reason, they're choosing a different format here. It looks like it is single players in a 1v1 situation on a custom creative island where you both have pump shotguns, which aren't even current in the current Battle Royale meta, and you basically go into a small quarters like shotgun fight, with all matches being best of 7, but the first player, best of 5 in the first couple of rounds, with best of 7 being in the final round. So it takes out the building portions, and it takes out the large map gradually shrinking into small maps, and it makes it a more streamlined event, which I guess makes sense because you're trying to get people into these tournaments, but also get through the tournaments as fast as you can. You don't want a Fortnite tournament to last 5 hours. But this is an interesting way to do it, to have only pump shotguns, and then you guys go against each other, and whoever wins wins. I'm fascinated by this. I am interested to see how this may work out in the near future, and whether or not it would ever return to the standard battle royale format, or even cut down the number of people. I'm pretty sure they could do that as well. But this is an interesting Fortnite format. I think I'm going to check it out, and we'll see exactly how it looks when that happens. And then we have Rocket League. Rocket League, very standard once again also. You're going to be on the North American server. The default map is DFH Stadium in a 2v2 tournament. First round is best of 3. Every round after that until the finals is best of 5. And then the final round is also best of 7. There will be no bots, and each match will be about 5 minutes long, which is the perfect length for a Rocket League matchup. So this one's actually pretty by the book, pretty straightforward. If you've ever played Rocket League, a lot of that will make a lot of sense. If you haven't played Rocket League, I do recommend that you do so, because it's a ton of fun, and you and your friends will have a blast playing it. But more importantly, to whoever's competing here, I hope you're practicing, because Rocket League's competition is underrated and scary tough. This Rocket League tournament is going to be a lot of fun to watch as the action gets intense in a hurry. And it's just going to be very, very entertaining. Looking forward to that one. And then finally, the Apex Legends tournament is the fourth one in this clash. Honestly, this one makes the Fortnite one make even less sense, because it looks like this is a battle royale style with where they're going to know where people place and give them points based off that, rankings after each matchup. And then get to the final 60, I think, was the last roll. And then the last 60 will play in the finals of the weekend. So Apex Legends is going to scratch that Battle Royale itch if you're more of a fan of that. If you're not particularly worried about the normal Battle Royale stuff, and you want to try something a little bit different, then the Fortnite tournament would be for you. But regardless of how you feel about any of these games, the Club Clash is a really cool event that the Union are participating in. Could have the opportunity to win you some money if you're pretty good at that. You can sign up now. The first game will be played on Saturday at 3:15, so you should sign up before that if you want to play Madden or Fortnite, with the next day's games following right after that. So good luck to all the Union players at the Club Clash. We are rooting for you, and hopefully it turns into some money in your pocket in the near future. Now, coming back from that, speaking of money in your pocket, you're going to need money in your pocket if you're a big video game fan and you're looking to get through the February calendar, because it is loaded. And I'm going to give you only 5 of my opinions as to what should be on your radar. Don't stick around. Don't go away. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Cheesesteaks and Controllers, episode number 82. Chugging right along here. Looked at the Club Clash the Philadelphia Union are a part of, coming up in the next couple of weeks. If you want to sign up for that, go to egl.tv/Club Clash. But now we're going to talk about the second month on the calendar. That's right, February is next week. We are already a month through 2022. I feel like I blinked and it was New Year's, and suddenly we are 4 days away as of recording from the second month of the year. And this year in particular, February is an absolute doozy for the gaming industry, with major titles basically coming out weekly. Depending on the console that you have. If you have all of them, my goodness, watch your wallet. But I figure we'll go through here. I'm currently on one of my favorite resources, the Wikipedia page for the current year in video games, which gives you a list of what releases and when. And it's very, very easy to keep up on. So I recommend if you ever are wanting to know what's coming out when and you need a quick resource, put this in your bookmarks and don't forget it. But I want to go through this list here and talk about all the different things that are coming out, and then I'll rank my 5 personal most anticipated of this list, and then we'll go from there. So right on February 1st, if you're a fan of Don't Nod's Life is Strange narrative adventure games, the remastered collection of the first two comes out for basically every console. So you can now have both Life is Strange's and then Life is Strange True Colors, which is the newest one, on one console if you wish. And then 3 days later, Dying Light to Stay Human, the sequel to Dying Light, finally launches after years in development. We finally get this game, and someone that you may be listening to may or may not already be playing this game, and I will have more information on it at the beginning of next week, so stay tuned for that. I don't want to get into I don't want to get too much into information on this game. Normally I would talk a lot about this one, but because I am currently playing it and I am under embargo for any specifics until early next week, I don't want to risk that. So just it is there, it is coming, and it is a game that exists. So that's all I can say about that. Moving on now to the 8th of February, two major indie titles coming at us. First, Ollie Ollie World, with the very successful Ollie Ollie 2D skateboarding game, gets a sequel from Roll7, published by Private Division. And then Sifu, which is one that I am personally very excited for, a stylized karate beat-em-up by a developer named Slowclap, who was self-publishing their game. They made a game called Absolver, which was like a free-roaming world where you could engage in hand-to-hand combat with anybody that you came across. Very, very cool premise that was, but kind of missed something in execution, and I'm hoping Sifu makes up for that. Just looks like a very, very cool, highly, highly hyped game that really could be one of the sleeper hits of the year if they pulled it off. If not, we'll find out. But for now, I'm very excited about it. The 10th is interesting for two reasons. One, the entirety of the Kingdom Hearts core franchise hits the Nintendo Switch via the Nintendo Switch cloud service. So Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5, 2.5, 2.8, and Kingdom Hearts 3 will all be made available via the cloud service. And then also Crossfire X. So Crossfire X, if you're not familiar, is Crossfire, I should say, is a major hit franchise in Eastern markets, China, Korea, Japan, over there. Coming to the States for the first time via Crossfire X. This was first announced at E3, I want to say 2019, the same E3 where Elden Ring was announced for the first time, as coming to the Xbox in America. It was supposed to be a multiplayer shooter, and still is. The Smilegate did develop the multiplayer aspect of it. But also, Remedy Entertainment, who known for Alan Wake and Control and Quantum Break, has stepped in to make a single-player campaign for this game. Genuinely curious how that's going to turn out. I'm wondering if I was reviewing that game, would I handle it as two halves of the same whole? Would it get one score? Would it get two? I'm not entirely sure. It would be fascinating if the difference in quality was so great that you had to rank them on different scales. I don't think it's going to happen, but that would just be a fascinating little idea. So that is Crossfire X is one to keep your eye on if you're an Xbox fan who likes shooters and is done with Halo or is ready to put Halo down for a little bit. As weird as that sounds, Crossfire X would be one to check out. A couple of MMOs coming in the next couple days after that. February 11th, Lost Ark, big MMO also from Smilegate, published by Amazon Games. Has a lot of hype behind that. And then a new expansion for Star Wars The Old Republic, which I can't believe we're still saying. I can't believe this game is still chugging along here. But EA and BioWare Austin have that coming out. Legacy of the Sith on February the 15th. King of Fighters 15, next big fighting game release coming from SNK. 39 characters from across the King of Fighters history, with 6 DLC characters already confirmed. Who knows how many more after that. I am personally very excited for this. You better bet it's going to feature in the top 5 at the end of this segment. But King of Fighters 15 looks very, very cool. They've had trailers for every one of their individual characters. The action looks good. The story looks like goofy, campy fun, which I can get behind as long as the gameplay and the fighting is very good. So hoping that will be a huge hit when it launches on the 17th of February for me. Real-time strategy fans have something to look forward to. Total War Warhammer 3 on the 17th, the same day as King of Fighters. That's for the PC. Creative Assembly and Sega going back to the Warhammer well one more time. February 18th, huge day. Probably one of the most hyped days of the entire year, even though it is still the second most hyped game day of the month, but we'll get to that in a second. Horizon Forbidden West, Aloy's second adventure, one of the first premier PlayStation 5 games to ever be announced, finally hits our consoles, and we can go in and see what Aloy and her 31st century friends are up to. I have been on YouTube researching and for lack of a better term, binging the lore of this game, just going in and reliving it and figuring out what angles I want to be searching for and what names I should be listening for and all this other stuff. And it's been a very fun and fascinating re-entry into that universe just in time for this sequel to come out. As I was getting ready for this recording tonight, I saw that copies are already out in the wild with certain reviewers and influencers and stuff like that. So look for the impressions to be coming soon. The game is on its way, and that's very exciting if you ask me. So a couple days later, on February the 22nd, we have two big titles. First, the next expansion for Destiny 2, The Witch Queen, which has been highly touted since, I believe, September of last year. Destiny 2 fans salivating for the chance to jump in and see what's going on with Savathun and the Witch Queen there. And then Sol Cresta, which is an interesting, they call it a shmup, but it's one of those games where you're like playing as a little ship and you're shooting all the different things that come. Like 1941 by Capcom is a classic version of it. Defender is technically a shmup, if you remember Defender and Defender 2. But Sol Cresta coming out from Platinum Games. Platinum Games giving the genre a shot. Departure from its usual action-heavy gameplay. That's one to watch as well. And then February 25th, probably the biggest release of the early year. I would imagine this will be the biggest release of the year until we find out what's coming out in June, like we normally do around E3 time, if there even is a digital E3 this year, but that's another story. That's Elden Ring. Elden Ring, the next game from Software, who created Dark Souls and Bloodborne and those games. This one is the next highly touted game from Miyazaki, who created those games, but as well as George R.R. Martin, who lended some of his expertise to the world building and the characters and the lore of this game, the history of the world of the game, and that is going to make that right there makes it a marquee game all by itself. That collaboration between Martin and Miyazaki had a lot of people's salivating at the thought when it was first announced at E3 2019, and then we didn't hear a thing. We didn't hear a single thing about that game for almost exactly 2 years until Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest. It was the final trailer this past year in June, and all of a sudden the lights were back on and Elden Ring was coming out, and now it's here. It's less than a month away as I sit here. Souls fans are already chomping at the bit to get their hands on it. I look forward to them. They've already said there's going to be about 30 hours of gameplay throughout this game, but I look forward to the speedrunning community getting their hands on it and turning that into about 4 hours, if not less. But we'll see. But that's going to be one that that's going to be one of the big launches of the year, at the very least, until we find out what E3 is all about, or that time frame is all about this year. So if I'm personally ranking the games I'm most excited about from 5 to 1, Elden Ring is number 5, but that's only because I am not a Souls fan usually. I'm not a guy who likes Bloodborne or those Dark Souls games. I admire the more difficult games in our medium. I admire games that thrive on difficulty and testing their player and stuff like that. I just ain't got time for it, usually. You know what I mean? Like when I'm playing through a game, I want to be able to do it. I want to be able to get through a game and make mistakes, of course, and see game over screens, but because of my own errors, not because it feels like the game was out to get me. Perfect example of what I'm talking about in a Miyazaki game comes from Sekiro in 2019. There's a part where you're like, you walk a fence or you go up a ladder or whatever, and you're on the roof of this building, and you're just walking across the roof of the building like nothing's going on. And suddenly this enemy comes out of nowhere, dive bombs onto where you are, and can kill you or put you near death in an instant. And that, to me, is unfair. I don't like when games are unfair just for the sake of being unfair. I prefer games to be a little more upfront with their challenge. That's not to say I wouldn't go into an Elden Ring thinking it was going to be easy. That would be foolish. But stuff like that just bothers me a little bit. That's all. I'm going to try it. I am going to try it. I do want to see what the hype is about. I did dabble in Demon's Souls, the PS5 remake, and that was fun. I will not lie. But this is going to be the one where I think I sit down and say, okay, let's learn what these games are all about. And I'm probably doing that on the back of George R.R. Martin, let's be honest. While we don't like Game of Thrones anymore for how it ended, when we did like it, it's crucial to remember how much we loved it because of the way it was written. So I'm hoping Elden Ring can do something to that nature. That's number 5. Excuse me. Number 4 is going to be Sifu. Very excited about this martial arts combat game, as I was talking about earlier. I just think the style is really cool. If the action works and the controllers make sense and the buttons make sense, this is going to be a huge game. Very much an indie darling, and that's the kind of thing I'm looking for right now. So Sifu at number 4. I would say Dying Light 2 is number 3, but I'm already playing it, so I don't have to anticipate it anymore. So we're going to change number 3 to Ali World. Again, another big-time indie game. Those two are really interchangeable, to be honest. Ali World and Sifu 3, or Ali World 3. Just because I love when indie games come out and impress me, and both of these games are follow-ups to other games that were good, better in Ali's case than Absolver. But these follow-ups I'm very looking forward to as well. Number 2, King of Fighters 15. Fighting games, my favorite genre. This game already has some of my favorite characters in Terry Bogard and Kyo Kusanagi and a couple other ones that are in there whose names elude. I don't know. They're my favorite characters, and I can't even think of them. Man, oh man, it's amazing what happens when that at-home test shows positive. Oh boy. But anyway, King of Fighters 15 on my list. Big time. Very much excited for that. Number 1 is Horizon. And there's not even a chance in heck that there's another game in February that could top it, unless Nintendo comes out with a Direct and Shadow drops something. Horizon Forbidden West, I have been absolutely over the moon about since I saw it for the first time. It was a big player in why I secured a PlayStation 5 as soon as I could, because I wanted to make sure I was playing that game on the best console I could as soon as it launched. And now I am ready, and I only have to wait about 2 weeks to do it. So my top 5 are Horizon at 1, King of Fighters 15 at 2, Ali World and Sifu interchangeable at 3 and 4, like I said, and Elden Ring at 5, only because that genre is not usually my thing, but I think I'm just going to try it for FOMO reasons, if nothing else. So there you go. That's February in a nutshell. Lots to play, lots to talk about, lots to discuss, and we will be here to discuss all of it throughout the month. There is a game in February that you're looking forward to, even if it's when's Nintendo's next Direct dropping. That game always seems to be popular in the first week of February. If I had to predict a date for that, real quick, while we're talking about it, I am going to predict the Nintendo Direct for February 9th, Wednesday, February 9th. You heard it here first, and the reason for that is because I will be in Disney World with my family from the 6th to the 12th, and I won't be able to watch it. So if a Direct is going to drop, it's going to be somewhere in that week, and I'm going with Wednesday, February 9th, but that's just me. But coming up after the break, our third segment of the evening, I know I talked about this in a little bit different terms than with Sean Brayson. I'm coming at it from a slightly different angle. These are the best games that I play, my favorite games to play when I'm feeling under the weather. And as I alluded to, I am feeling under the weather right now for obvious reasons. So I'm going to talk about my favorite games to play when I'm sick and down in the dumps and just want to sit and play for a while and forget the sickness as much as I can. Look for that on the other side. All right, folks, welcome back to Cheesesteaks and Controllers, episode number 82. Wrapping things up this week. talking about the games that I like to play when I am feeling sick. So, as I alluded to at the end of the second segment, I was unable to avoid the sickness of the early decade so far. After 2 years of properly dodging it, it made its way into my house 2 weeks ago through my wife. Offered to help a friend move out, brought it home with her. Not mad at the friend. It happens. Whatever. And then so that was 2 weeks ago. Last week, my kids tested positive, and then this week it was me. Symptoms started about 2 days ago. Just a scratchy throat. You probably hear it. It's part of the reason why I'm bringing it up right now is because you probably hear it in my voice and are wondering, dude, why do you sound like you're talking through a towel? I'm not talking through a towel. I'm talking through nonsense, thanks to the malady that has given us so much grief over the past couple of months or years even. But because of that, because it's finally came my way and I wanted to end this episode on something topical, let's talk about games that we play to make us feel better when we're sick. Now, if you're like me, you've been playing games your entire life, and there are always games that you go back to when you're feeling under the weather. Games that, they're like a comfy blanket. They're like a warm blanket that you wrap over yourself, and you play them because you love them, or you've been playing them for a long time. It could even be the newest game in a franchise that you've been playing forever, or it could be the original retro game. You dig out your old Super Nintendo or Sega Genesis or whatever it is, and you play it, and you remember how much you love it. I want to talk about those games for a little bit. Games that you fall back on when you're sick and you have a couple of days and you just want to sit and chill and do what's comfy. We all have them. For me, my first is in the fighting game genre. Obviously, I talked about being a fighting game fan in the last segment, talking about King of Fighters 15. But this is around the time I always go back to Street Fighter. So Street Fighter 5 is one that I've been playing just to, get my mind off things. Just because I can go into training mode, mess around with somebody for a while, or venture online to get my butt kicked and then come right back offline again, because that's how usually that works. There are characters that have been added in Luke and Akira who are fun to play, and I'm curious to see where they go with the next game or next update or whatever the next Street Fighter thing is, and I want to make sure I'm ready for that. So I'm dabbling back in it now, just to I've been playing Street Fighter, like I said, my whole life, so it's very familiar to me. So it's going into that gives me that sense of, everything will be all right. I'm just going to sit here, do this, do what I like, do what I'm used to, and everything will be okay. And similarly to that, Tekken 7, if I need a 3D fighter, Tekken 2 on the original PlayStation was a mainstay in my PS1 console, on my console. It rarely came out of there, and when it did, it went right back in. So even now, Tekken 7, very familiar to me, very comfortable to me. The fact that I can play all of Tekken 2's old music is very, very cool. Give me that extra sense of nostalgia. But that's a game I could play for hours and never quit. And then finally, Super Smash Bros. Obviously, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate being the newest one is huge for me. Always has been, always will be, since the original Super Smash Bros. Back in '99. I also am thinking about digging out my GameCube just to get some Melee in. I couldn't tell you the last time I picked up Melee, but I missed that game, so I might do that as well. And I'll have all weekend between the sickness and the snow that might be coming our way. I'll definitely have the time to do that. So that might be something on my schedule as well. Next up is a game that I have been playing for over a year now. Picked it up in December 2020. I've talked about it a lot on the show. And it's one of those things where if I just want to sit and hit a couple hours with some mindless gaming fun, turn on Fortnite, and I'm off. That's all it takes. Fortnite is really good for the quick pick up and play. You play a couple of matches, and all of a sudden it's an hour later, and you don't know what happened at the time. Whether it's playing solos or duos with friends or squads with friends, if you have a friend list that you can play with, that's one where, again, you can just sit and the time goes by and it's like nothing, and you're that much closer to feeling better. It can be stressful, so if you have something that you need to keep your blood pressure down, it might not be the game to play, especially towards the end of each match. But obviously Street Fighter and Tekken and Super Smash Bros. Raised my blood pressure too, so not really saving anything by playing Fortnite instead, right? But so Fortnite definitely one. It's like putting on comfy pair of slippers, just sit, play for a while. If I win, I win. If not, not a big deal. There's all those quests to do and stuff too. So that's one I plan on playing a lot while I'm not feeling so great at the moment. This next one's going to seem like it comes out of left field, but this is one that I always associate with childhood sicknesses, because whenever I would be sick and home from school, this is one that I would pop into my Super Nintendo and play all the time. 100% of this game too when I was a kid. Really, really just played the crap out of it. That's Donkey Kong Country on Super Nintendo. What a fantastic platformer. One of the best games on the Super Nintendo, bar none, by far. And every once in a while I like to dig it up, whether in the Super Nintendo or through a port, and just go back to the old days and play some good old Donkey Kong Country with the great music and the great platforming areas. The bosses are a lot of fun. The fake out at the end of the final boss is one of the defining moments of my gaming career, where I realized, man, people are really thinking about these games now. That was a lot of fun with the fake credits and everything. So that's a really, really cool game. Always puts a smile on my face. And that's the kind of thing I need at this current moment. So Donkey Kong Country is in my immediate future. I can feel it. Now then again, sometimes I might be angry that I'm sick. I might be upset, and I may just want to go into a game and cause as much mayhem as possible for a little while to take my mind off things. For me, that's Doom and Doom Eternal. Just to go into those worlds and rip and tear and shoot and beat the crap out of those hellish, awful demons. It's perfect. Perfect way to spend a couple hours while you're not feeling so hot. Get that blood pumping, get the heart going, and not in a way that's particularly stressful, just in a way that it's like, yeah, with the driving soundtracks and the big explosions. It's very action movie in that regard, and really can turn your mood around when you're not feeling up for much. So that would be one I would recommend putting on your sick playlist as well, if for no other reason than, like I said, to just experience that adrenaline while you're not feeling so hot, and maybe it can help push your sickness out of your system. I'm not a doctor. I don't even know if that's how it works, but it helps me feel better. So hopefully it'll make you feel better too if you were to try it. And then the final one that I'm going to talk about here before we sign off for the week, this is one that I have been playing. I try and play it once a year since it came out in 2012. It's one of the most profound games I've ever played, and it only takes 2 hours to play. It's one that I highly recommend that you do play if you have a PlayStation 4 or 5. You can download it on there, an enhanced version with updated graphics for the PS4, since it was originally a PS3 game. I don't know that it's going to get the PS5 shine treatment, but man, I would love if it did. That's Journey. Journey by that game company. The game where you just travel this world and walk and try and solve a couple of puzzles and collect some things, and you meet people along the way, but you don't know who it is that you're meeting until the very end. And you can communicate with them through, the way that you walk or the way that you talk, or and when I talk, I mean just chirp. You don't actually have a voice. You're just kind of chirping your way through this world, and it takes you through the entire thing. There are low lows and dizzying highs for one of the most sentimental and feels-inducing sequences ever towards the end of that game. It is truly a magnificent game, a masterpiece, and one that I always keep with me. I remember playing it for the first time and being very moved, and every time I play it, I find something else to be impressed about. So if you've not played Journey, and by extension, if you have not played, there are other games at that game company, Flow and Flower, I do suggest them. Just because they're all fun games, and they're all different, and they're all thought-provoking, but Journey is my favorite of the three, without a single question. Now, there are some honorable mentions that I missed here, like Hotel Dusk Room 215 is one that I go back to on the 3DS or DS a lot. Same with the Phoenix Wright trilogy. I can play that on anything now, but I tend to play it on DS where it was intended. There are a lot of games that can make you feel a little more comfortable when you're going through a sick time, whether it's, the big C word or it's something else. And I would love to hear about the games that you play when you're not feeling well, the games that make you feel better, the games that put a little normalcy in your schedule when you have some sickness or anything like that. So, let me know on Twitter at BigManFanelli. Happy to hear about the games that give you joy when you're sick. And maybe I'll try one for myself at the moment, since I'll be dealing with this for the next couple of weeks before we leave on vacation. Perfectly timed, of course. It was perfectly timed to get this now, so that it's out of my system and I'm ready to go for that trip. I would have hated to have had to have missed that for this reason, but luckily it doesn't sound like I'm going to have to, which is nice. But so yeah, let me know the games that make you feel better when you're sick, your go-tos, your the things that make you feel the best, and maybe if I have the access to it, I will try one of those too. So with that, we are at the end of episode 82 of Cheesesteaks and Controllers, another week wrapped up. If you are listening to these words at the very end, thank you so very much for sticking through it. I was afraid that with my malady, I would be ranting or going off trail or whatever, what have you, and no longer have been interesting. But I'm hoping that didn't happen here. I'm hoping that we had a good show and you enjoyed it, and that I come back next week with another episode before I leave on that week hiatus. I'm trying to have something recorded before then, so I can have something to air, but I may take the week off. We'll see. We'll see what happens. See if I have time for it. If not, definitely be back next week, but I might not be back the week after, and then I would be back the week after that, bringing you all the latest and greatest in all the gaming news and esports results. I am Jason Fanelli, the senior editor. Oh boy, I still want to say that after all this time. Funny story. Every time I say, real quick before we go off air, every time I say I am Jason Fanelli, esports and gaming insider for Fox PHL the Gambler, I always want to say Jason Fanelli, senior editor of GamerNode.com, which I have not been since 2013, but my mind is stuck there because of all of the videos that we did for that website called Hot Off the Grill, the weekly news segment that we did. I always want to say that, so let's try that again. I am Jason Fanelli. I am the esports and gaming insider for Fox PHL the Gambler, 102.5 FM, 1480 AM, and wherever you listen to your podcasts, Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Ratings are now available on Spotify, so if you're listening to this and you enjoyed it, please go give me that 5-star rating on Spotify, or whatever you think I deserve. 5-star would be great, but if you think I could earn another star somehow still, please let me know how to do that, and I will. But if that is all we have for this week, thank you so much for listening to the show. Have a great weekend. Try to bury yourself out of the snow, depending on where you are. It could be more than it is for others. If you're a wrestling fan, enjoy the Royal Rumble. I know I will be enjoying that from my house on Saturday night. I hope you have a great week right behind it, and we will be back again next week with all of the latest and greatest in video games and esports. Goodbye.